Welcome on my first step ever. This is another amazing episode where we are going to uncover and discover the behind the scenes of our guest speakers' journey of how did they make it to the life that they have created today and how did they power through their journey, did not give up or they might have, and how did they bounce back. This is a journey where everyone has to understand their own selves. They have to have an inner dialogue, and sometimes there comes a point where you have to really shut out the voice that everyone else in this world is throwing at you. And that is only when you can take your own personal journey towards your first steps towards your goal, to build conviction and take actionable steps. To celebrate that journey today, on the virtual studios of my first step ever, we have Richard Tierney. Richard,
Thank
welcome
you.
on my first step ever.
Shani, thank you very much for having me. Really excited about being here. I love your title, My First Step Ever.
I'm going to give our listeners and our viewers a little sneak peek of who Richard is. Today, on my first step ever, I'm honored to welcome a truly transformative guest speaker, Richard Tierney. With over 100 clients helped through his groundbreaking alternative healing program, Richard is the founder of Trauma Recovery Anonymous, a spiritual solution for healing the root cause of trauma, not just its effects. And this is very much real for everyone who is dealing with a lot of different challenges in their life and they feel that it kind of reoccurs and why they're not able to, overcome those mental challenges in any given situation. This could be your answer. So stay tuned because after overcoming 30 years of trauma himself, Richard has made it his mission to help others break free from the past and reclaim his present. He's the author of How to Heal Any Past Trauma Memory and the 12th step program of Trauma Recovery Anonymous. And he's here to share the truth behind lasting healing. Get ready for an inspiring and eye opening conversation. This is going to be very interesting because of late I have been reading a lot about this, and I believe that our body reacts to such traumas, and if it is stored us, we develop some sort of symptoms when we suppress the feelings, and it always shows in the way we communicate with others, in the way we assimilate information, in the way we think about a particular situation and how we tackle it. So I'm so glad that Richard is here on this podcast to break that down. But before we come to that, we would love to know where Richard comes from and what was it's all about growing up and how he became who he became. So Richard, here's my first question to you. Can you please take us through the mindset of the people that you were growing with and where do you come from?
Born in Dublin into a middle class family, a loving family. And as a child, I suffered a trauma event about the age of 12. I was destroyed. Filled with such shame and self loathing, I felt I must have caused it. I must have given some signal to this person to take advantage of me. And I couldn't tell my family because the shame I felt. So a 12-year-old child, I'm hiding my secrets, full of self-loathing and self-hatred, withdrawing from society, from family, angry at the whole world, all that stuff that comes with when you're hanging on to trauma that you can't process. And you just go inwards. There's like a hole in my soul that I couldn't fill. Sugar, food, sex, anything over my life. I tried to fill that hole in the soul. Nothing would fill it. Addictions, alcohol, medications, controlling, manipulation, codependency, anything I'd used to try and give myself some peace, nothing worked. And that led me into addictions and led me into self-harm. I attempted to take my life twice in my 20s. I was a coward. I was a victim and a coward. I was too afraid to kill myself. But on 2 occasions, I tried. I know it wasn't me because I didn't have the courage to. I was fearful if I'd ever tried, I'd fail and I would end up in a vegetable or something. So I didn't want to try, but also I wanted to die. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to live. It's really the truth. I wanted to die, but I wanted to live. So for 27 years of my life, I lived this full of dark despair and despise. No hope for the future, no sight of the future coming at all. I believe this is my place in life, to suffer all my life. And then both my parents passed away, and when they were gone, I left Ireland. Did the geographical, we call it, when you move countries to get away from yourself, thinking you get away from yourself, but you realize you're bringing yourself with you. So I moved to Thailand. And of course, then I brought me with me. So now I'm in a place where I know nobody, but no support, and I'm left with me. So it wasn't really a healthy place to be at that time. But the next 10 years, it was really very withdrawn and reclusive, and just not a healthy person. I went on for about 37, and I was very fortunate. I'd come to the 12-step programs of AA, GA, and some other programs, developed addictions in my early life, and became a member of the 12-step program. So I attended these meetings, and I met some really wonderful spiritual people. And one guy said to me one time, he said, "Isn't it time we let go of the past? Isn't it time we stop blaming your parents and whatever?" And I'm kind of shocked. I'm a victim here. You can't say that to me. I'm a victim. You have to honor my victimhood, blah, blah. But then I went away and I thought about this. This is a man who I finally let a man into my life to mentor me. I didn't want to fire him because of what he said to me. So I looked seriously at what he was saying to me and realized, if I'm 55 years of age, what happened at 12 didn't happen to this 55-year-old man. So it didn't happen to me because I'm here now living in time, 55 years of age, having this wonderful life. And not a 12-year-old child who's a trauma event. So it didn't happen to me. So I can't be bitching about something that happened to a 12-year-old child as a 55-year-old man. It just doesn't make sense. And that was the start. That was the crux to my treatment book.
Thank you so much, Richard, first of all, for giving us a really in-depth understanding of how the challenges started for you and how it panned out in your life. There is a lot that has happened in the span of those, maybe early 35 years that you had mentioned, 37 years that you mentioned. And usually what I love to do over here is break down the early teens, the early adulthood of our guest speakers, because that inherits a lot of our identity. It becomes the foundation of a lot of feelings that that becomes a personality. But since it's a very challenging time that you have seen in your, let's say, teens, your early adulthood, I wouldn't want to really dig deep into that, but to set a context for our listeners and for our viewers today, given that the span of the first 30 years of your life has been really traumatic and lots have happened, if we can probably if you would like to maybe pinpoint that, what were the few things from those experiences that sort of became your identity, which made you feel so not really good about you? What was that to begin with?
But I actually have to stop you there. This program is about separating the person I am today from everything to do with my past. Because I only exist in this life right here and right now. So I'm married, I got two teenage children in college, and my mother-in-law, our small dog here in Thailand. And I'm in conversation with you today, and your audience are listening in. This is my whole life. What happened to a 12-year-old child or a 10-year-old child or a 16-year-old child is no longer any of my business. I'm a 64-year-old man today. So I only have these 24 hours today to make or break, to define me or to rule me. And I have to focus squarely on these 24 hours only and not look into the past. A big part of therapy, old therapy, was regression therapy. Bring a client back into the past and they'd see their younger self, they have a conversation, and you'd save them with it. But there's no such thing as regression therapy. We don't go into the past. We should do is bring the past into the present. And we're bringing the death and decay of a dead thing into our present, and it destroys everything it touches. And we're not meant to go near the past. The past is our history. It's water on the bridge. It's spilled milk. We have to let go of the past. It's none of our business. Yesterday, Danny, you were getting ready for this presentation, this podcast. Today, you're making the podcast. Two different versions of you. Yesterday, you may have been nervous or apprehensive about, would my speaker work, would my picture work, would your picture work, would we get on, and would I be good for your audience? And today, you're in the middle of your podcast. Two completely different Ishanis, having two different experiences in your life. And you need to focus on the one today and not worry about what happens to one yesterday. So this is how this program works. Trauma therapy, therapists understand they can't treat the past. So they treat how it manifests in people's lives, how it triggers them. And then they get all these mental disorders. But the mental disorder isn't the problem, not the core problem. The core problem is something happened to our younger self. And we need to take that details that we've been giving life to in the present and give those details back to our younger self. So I had to go and get these details of what happened to the 12-year-old child and say, this is not mine, this is yours, take it back. And we did this visualization, holistic practice where we give the task back to our younger self, and they take it from us. And when they take it, they step into the light, and they leave this plane of existence. And in that moment, we feel the release from our bodies, and it's gone. And now I exist only in these 24 hours. I'm here with you this morning to start my day off.
Thank you so much, Richard, for giving us perspective that makes a lot of sense. And I think it also stems from the fact that you must live in the present, which is a really interesting, that's really, I like the fact that you're reinforcing that it is important to be present, because for a lot of us and listeners who have gone through such traumas, growing up, or who are still in a way, prisoner of those trauma, this could be one perspective shift for them, that how they can begin their journey is by understanding that the first step is to kind of accept and understand what's happening in the present and accept their present. But I think to be able to do that as well, as I mentioned, I believe one step before that is to accept that whatever has happened with you has happened with your older self, as you just mentioned. And we need to address that, come face to face with that, release it, and then go ahead. So for you, Richard, after coming to Ireland and going through all these emotions that you had, what was your first move? How did you begin your journey of healing?
Well, like anybody else, I went to therapy. Two of the most wonderful, empathetic, kind therapists. I was in Ireland and I moved to Thailand. Before I left Ireland, I had two therapists. They're the most wonderful, caring, empathetic people. I have great respect for people who work in this industry. To give your life to helping people is profound. And whatever medical, whether you're a doctor or a nurse or a psychiatrist or cognitive therapist, to actually dedicate your life to helping people. I can't fault anyone in that field. But the truth is, I have to focus only on it. Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. The Bible says the same thing. I don't know what religion you are or spirituality, but they probably have the same message. That God says his name is I am. He says that we're all meant to be in his image. So we're meant to live in the I am. Not the I was, not the I will be, the I am. And we need to focus on that squarely, I am. If the voice in your head says to you, oh, you have to go back and bitch about what happened in the past, you kind of go, feck off, voices, I'm staying in the I am. You'd make a conscious decision to stay in the I am. And the voices in your head will tell you, oh no, you have to recognize the victimhood, and you have to try to celebrate that, and you have to go and seek vengeance and justice. But again, I'm a Christian, so the Bible says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. You give your anger to me, I'll take it off you. And they may have a great life on this earth, but when they meet their maker, they're going to burn the fires of hell for all eternity, for harming you, if you let me take your battles. But if you fight your battles on this earth, they won't be held accountable when it comes to the end of the days. You have to choose. And I like the idea that if I wanted to confront my abuser, and maybe I got the world to know about it, and we went to court, and this is 40 years later, maybe he'd get a slap on the wrist, and maybe he'd get thrown in jail for 2 years, and go out for good behavior in 6 months. And suddenly that's over, and that's meant to be equal to my pain. That wouldn't touch my pain in a moment. And suddenly I've lost all punishment for eternity because I sought justice on this earth. But if I give, so what I did was I made a decision to give him over to God. Okay, God, he's all yours. You wreak vengeance and justice on him. You give him your wrath. I give him to you. I pray for him. He's happy and joyous and free from this day forward. And by praying forgiveness for him, he no longer triggers me. He's no longer in my mind. He's no longer pressing buttons. I'm free of him completely. And then I know that when it comes to the end of his days, he might live as a millionaire on this earth. He might have all the riches of this earth. But my belief is that when he goes to meet the Maker, we burn the fires for all eternity. 3 generations of his will burn the fires for all eternity. And that's okay for me. That gives me a sense of calm, clarity. And that's where you have to go with this thing. We have been hurt, and we do deserve vengeance or justice. But the vengeance and justice we can get on this earth is pretty crap. You see cases of some priest who's been caught and he's a pedophile for years, and finally he's 90 years of age and he's on a wheelchair, deathbed, and they can't put him in jail because he's too sick. And they get him up in front to tell people the whole world, and that's the end of it. So like, that's it. The justice you get is he's made known before he dies. How is that helping at all? I want this guy to burn the fires of hell, or to get a firing squad, or to be castrated, God help him. Or I want something serious to happen to this guy. And I've left it too late, and now I'm doing all that. God is going to take it up because I want justice myself. So if I just give it to God, I wish him all the best in life and happiness and joy. And by doing that, I'm free. Not for him, he'd never know. I'm not forgiving him to his face. I'm forgiving him in my heart so I can have peace of mind. So he doesn't have any power over me to trigger me. And when I do that, the past disappears. I no longer have to seek vengeance in the past because I've made peace with the past. And then I can live in the present.
That's lovely, Richard. And thank you so much for taking us in depth of, how what was the path that you chose and how you see things as. And from what I can maybe, generalize this for our audiences, whoever is listening from any part of the world and whatever faith and belief that they have, I think what I would like to kind of extract from this amazing perspective that Richard has given, that this the after acceptance and understanding that present is the most important part of the life, the only way between acceptance and understanding that today is the gift that we have lies one factor, the bridge that is releasing your pain. And I think that's what Richard was talking all about, that when you are able to give that pain give that up, whomever you pray to, or maybe wherever you release that, you forgive, or you go, or you move on. It is just for your inner peace. It's for your own solace, because in that way you are taking things away from your own mind, your body. And when you do not express and communicate, as Richard was sharing in his journey as well, the trauma gets suppressed in our body in many different ways, and it only hurts us. So it gives you peace, it gives you inner peace when, number one, you accept that yes, you have gone through certain challenges. Number two, you go through that process of release, which Richard just mentioned, that his way of doing that, to first interact with the therapist, to go for a therapy and get that release from his mind, body, and soul, and then come to a place where now Richard is, which he believes that today is the only gift that we have, and we need to live in present because this will change anything that's coming in the future. So, Richard, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, how you dealt with your trauma and how you have come to a place where now it is your power. You can move ahead. You live in the present. From here on, I would love to understand that when you were completely healed, and now that you feel like this is a life that I want to live, each day is a new day and I want to do something about it and I want to be really present. How did this journey of you being who you are, it all started? Being You started writing, and you started helping other people, breaking through their challenges. How did that journey start for you?
Well, there's a couple of things you said that I need to I don't mean to correct you, but I'm not completely healed. No one's going to be ever completely healed. We're all broken individuals. We get rid of the stuff that holds us back. But then we have to live life on life's terms. And we're living in a world where everyone else is out to get their own end. And you may find conflict with people. The big thing is we're not the target. When someone does something to us, we're actually not doing it to us. We just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And even that means we're responsible. We're not responsible. It's the fact that someone else is doing something that they want to do for them. And it happens that we're the victim at that time. It didn't target us. So we have to get the idea of being a victim. So I'm not a victim today. And I can be going down the road and someone can crash into me. He didn't intentionally crash into me. Maybe he was drink driving. Maybe he was on his phone. He had an accident. It was an accident, but it wasn't me being the target. Whatever happens in this world, I have to accept it's not all about Richard. There's 8 billion people in the world. It's not all about Richard. I'm not the target for everybody else to come out and jest. And I have to get to a place where I see myself as no longer being the target. I don't like using bad language, but that famous phrase in English, but shit happens. We have to accept that shit happens. It just happens, It's not that anyone's out to get Ishani or to get Richard or to get one of the others. If it happens, it happens. It's just, it happens. And you kind of brush it off and kind of go, well, I wasn't the target. Ishani wants to get her way for whatever she wants to achieve. She was doing it in my presence, and it affected me. But I wasn't her target. If someone else had been in front of her, they would have got the full force of whatever she was thinking. So first off, we have to realize we're not victims. And then my goal in life is to be a normal, boring human being, no better or worse than anybody else. All I have to do is let go of my past, not worry about my future, and live in the present moment today the best that I can. Two children, neighbours and friends and people, fellowships and clients. And I try to be a normal, boring human being. I just try to do the best I can today. That's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I'm trying to do. And if I achieve that each day, I feel like I've done the best I can today. That's a win. I don't have to be the best in the world, the richest person in the world, or the greatest therapist in the world. My goal is just to live in this present day for these 24 hours. If you can embrace the concept of God, and for a Christian it's wonderful, because it's suggested that God lives in our subconscious mind, and then the ego, Satan, whatever you want to call it, lives in our conscious mind. So when we're awake from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., a 16-hour window of work and play, Satan is tempting us with everything. He's throwing everything at us. Someone gives you too much change in your shop. You put in your pocket. Don't tell them because it's their mistake kind of stuff, and you walk away and they're going to short money. Whatever happens, or they don't charge you the bus, or they don't charge you for the full meal. Little things that get us to commit a crime because we think, well, we didn't orchestrate the crime, so it's okay. So we do things that are breaking the law, but we didn't start out breaking the law, so it's okay. It's like that's just the way it is, and this kind of stuff. So the voice in our head tells us it's okay to do these things. Double park. Don't pay the tax on time. Don't pay insurance on time. Don't pay the milkman. Don't pay the electric bill. Take that. Something's lying on the ground. Pick it up in your pocket. Don't give it to the police station. You find a wallet, money, and don't be at the police station. Put it in your pocket and kind of go, how lucky am I, kind of stuff. And then someone's out of a week's wage, a month's wages. So we have to understand that we're not victims, and we can't listen to the voices in our head. So as a Christian, God lives in our subconscious mind. What we do is at night time we say, okay, God, I've carried this cross for the last 64 years of my life, and it's too much for me. And like your son Jesus, I've fallen more than once. I've all shame and guilt and trauma and hatred and anger, resentment. Take it from me for the next 8 hours and give me 8 hours of sleep. And then you give me this cross. You beat your angels taking it off. You put your head in the pillow, close your eyes, and for 8 hours, there's no voices, there's no resentments or trauma. It's gone, and you get 8 hours of peaceful sleep. You get up in the morning, either get down on your knees or sit by the bed and say, "Okay, God, I'm ready to take my cross back." And you hear a voice say, "Richard, my beautiful son, I'm not giving you your old cross back. I'm giving you a new cross just for these 16 hours of fun. I want you to focus on these 16 hours only. Forget the past, forget the future. Self-restraint of pen, tongue, and deed. Don't try and fix and save anybody. Don't try and allow people to don't people please anybody. Just do your day's work. At the end of the day, come back to me, tell me how you got on, and give me the 16-hour cross." And that instance we live in, it's not even a full day we're living in. We're living in 16 hours today. Because the 8 hours at night time is taken by God. So we only have to live in 16 hours. And then we have to decide what we're putting in the 16 hours.
It's very insightful, Richard. I was just about to jump in and say that because, firstly, thank you so much for, I would say correcting me over there, because it's very important that we do, on a topic like this, we give a real picture to our listeners and audiences that no one is ever completely healed. And when you were saying that, I could kind of go back to my own experiences and even people around me, and I could say that yes, what you're saying is right. And living with that, being able to, we are work in progress, and you're work in progress each day, and that's so right. So thank you so much, Richard, for emphasizing on that, highlighting that, and giving us a perspective that is so important, letting us know that each one of us on this planet are dealing with their own challenges, and it is our responsibility in a way to work through it, uh, seek out for help, and understand at the end of the day that it is okay. All of us are going through certain things and we are living with it, but if we work on it each day and take each day as a new day, and that we can go one step further in our life, progress one step further, and concentrate on our own self, that would make our life a little better every day. And that really adds up. The compound theory, I think, really adds up to that. So thank you so much, Richard, for being on this podcast. I think it has been amazing understanding trauma, recovery, healing, and just being a person who has the power to change things on their own from your perspective, from your journey. And the way how passionately you speak about it, I am very, very excited and eager to also, know that your client must have, really had a good time with you when they are probably, getting healed or maybe getting to recover or maybe learning the tools from you, how they can probably every day work on that. So thank you so much. But before we take a leave, I would love you to probably, share with our listeners that if today they are struggling with something and they are not at the stage where even the first step where they are not able to accept that they are going through something, what are the top three things, if you can probably put down in a list? If not, that's completely fine. However you want to maybe share, what can they do to begin their journey of healing?
Okay. The first one is grab a sheet of paper and put a line down the middle. On one side, put the name you are today and your age today. So it could be 64-year-old Richard, it could be maybe 22-year-old Ashani. Okay? And then the other side of the page, put down the younger version of you of the trauma. So for me, it's 12-year-old Richard. Okay? And then in my life today, I'm living with my Thai wife and my children. Got information out here. And then here, the 12-year-old child is living at home with his parents. My parents both passed away. His parents are. I've got 4 siblings. He's got 5. One of my siblings died. That child, that sibling alive. And you put his information on the left side, and then you clearly see the 2 different people. You're not that 12-year-old child. Your life is here with your husband, your wife, or your husband, your children. Your parents are dead. You're living 7,000 miles away from the country. And this child is a different person altogether. A child going to school, full of innocence, full of trauma. So you can see clearly that you're 2 different people. And that'll help you an awful lot to understand. The second thing I'll say to you is, imagine you could draw in front of you, say, 5 footpaths. Okay? And you look at the footpath that you're on right now, and your footpath is like going to therapy and surfing the past over and over again. And all the dressings that go with that, all the medication and beating yourself up, the anger and the rage, and pushing you away, and the lack of self-belief, and that whole path there. Then you see, decided to put a path where you're letting the past go. This path is solely in the present. Now, as long as you don't go backwards, you're on that path. So you can stay still for a while. You may find you're just completely drained, no energy. And rather than moving forward or moving backwards, just simply take a time out. So you have a holiday. You take a time out, buy an ice cream, watch some cartoons on TV. Don't be worried about living today. Just be still and don't go backwards. And then the next mode is one where you jump off that leap and now you're actually walking forward and you're meeting somebody and starting a family and having children and having your life. And the next one, maybe you're jumping into therapy and you're following Ishan and yourself and you're helping other people and you leave the job you're in that's a kind of dead end boring job and you get into running a podcast or being a therapist or a holistic practitioner and you're helping people and you see yourself helping other people, changing the whole world. I like to think that myself and Ishani today, bringing this to Ishani's audience, that someone in their audience will go on to have a life beyond their wildest dreams. They'll understand that the past is gone. They'll get to let go of the past and live in the present. They get married, have children. I want their descendants, and maybe in 2 generations, to create a cure for cancer or AIDS. Now, no one will ever know that Ishani and I did this. We're the ones who created this scenario where their descendant created a cure for cancer or AIDS. We won't get the accolades or the recognition on this earth, but God will know. That's all that matters. Ishani and I together, doing this podcast, we might help somebody out there who could change the world. That's our part to play. The last one is, I'd ask you to give God a second chance. Whatever your relationship with God is, just try this prayer, okay? Okay, Lord God. Richard says, if I ask you for 10 minutes of peace of mind, you'll give me 10 minutes of peace of mind. So I want you to tell the voices in my head to feck off. I want you to take the past for 10 minutes and I want to create the future for 10 minutes. And just give me 10 minutes of peace of mind. I sit here in perfect peace. That's it. End of story. Thank you. And you'll find for the next 10 minutes, you'll have peace of mind. You won't understand how it's happened, but the voices will be gone. The past and the future will be gone. And if you allow it to happen, you have 10 minutes of peace of mind. Then you can do this for the 24 hours of time. You can ask for an hour here or an hour there or 4 hours here or 8 hours sleep. Simple prayers say, God, take my crap off for 8 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours, 30 minutes. I'm going for an interview, 45 minutes, keep the voice out of my head. I'm going for a date, 45 minutes take voice out of my head. I'm going for sleep, 8 hours of sleep. Just try. I'm not talking about joining any religion or church or denomination. Just say, God, wherever you are, I'm giving you my crown. Take it off me for 10, 15, 20 minutes. And that's it.
Wow.
I hope that helps you.
Definitely did. I was just going to say, Richard, that these are probably the most doable, a couple of steps that you have shared with us right now. And I think my favorite out of all these is the first one. I'll tell you why, because when someone is going through such situations, they do not want to go out there and talk to anyone, even if it's their most beloved friend, because you don't know your emotions yourself. You don't know what to talk about. So I love when you mentioned that start writing things down, start writing the scenarios down. And when it flows out in words, it starts making sense. And then the next things that you mentioned, then they're doable. So thank you so much. I think it makes so much sense. And I think for a lot of people who are listening to us today, they will definitely benefit from. And if I can maybe just say over here, if you can take away one thing, is these amazing actionable steps that Richard has mentioned today, and especially the first one. If you can just start expressing yourself just to yourself to begin with, I think it can maybe spark some sort of hope in you that you can actually go reach out for more help and make things work, because you'll see the problem really doesn't lie in you, but the way situation has been, but how now you are seeing that situation. So thank you so much, Richard, for being on this podcast. You have really added immense value, and your experiences and your courage to go out there and make shifts in your own mind and in your own life, and then be able to impact and help other people is commendable. And coming on this podcast, so thank you so much. For all my listeners out there, what I want to say that I will leave a link about Richard if you want to maybe follow him and get to know more about him. But before we take your leave, I request all my guest speakers to leave our listeners with the quote or a saying that you really resonate with Richard.
You mentioned earlier on, yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today's a present, a gift from God. Let's open this and stay in the present. That's where we're meant to live. That's meant to have our being in the I am. And if you can say I am and smile, everything changes. So if you even tried that, that's another thing. Try smiling in any moment and everything changes. Your depression leaves you even for 3 minutes. You do that 20 times, that's an hour. Do it 40 times, it's 2 hours. Just smile. Just sit here and big funny smile on your face and hold it for 3 minutes and everything changes.
That's absolutely true. And I think, yeah.
Give a smile, Danny. You're an expert at this.
And I think that would be a very good exercise, a challenge for our listeners, that once they're done with listening to this episode, that actually go and try it just for a minute, 2 minutes, or even 3 minutes, and see how it really goes for you. So thank you so much, Richard, for being on the podcast. And to all my listeners out there, I'd like to say that start believing in yourself and keep believing in yourself. See you next. Please do give ratings and please do write your comments. And you can directly reach out to me on my first step ever _IN. That's my Instagram handle. A little about myself. I have always loved performing on stage, acting, speaking, and just emoting myself. So I use these mediums different ways so that I can connect with people, help them, empower them, infotain them, which is to inform them and entertain them. If you would like to collaborate for any opportunities, more than welcome to connect with me on my Instagram handle. Thank you.